Hi, in this session we'll be developing the same bookstore application that we used to understand object relational mapping. So let's get started, but before you do anything, you have to make sure that MySQL is running on your system. Then we're going to go ahead and create the database called bookstore and the three tables in it: the book table, publisher table, and the chapter table. And we're going to use HDSQL to get into MySQL. We're not going to choose any particular database to get into. There we have all the databases inside our MySQL relational database management system. Now we're going to create the bookstore database. And there we go, we have created the bookstore database. Now we're going to go and create the three tables in it. And I'm going to use this cheat sheet for this session to save us some time. You'll be getting this cheat sheet as well. So I'm going to copy the schema for the three tables we want to be created in our bookstore database. And I'm going to paste this schema here and then execute it and see if we've got all the tables created inside this bookstore. It might need a refresh. And there we go, we have created the book table, the chapter table, and the publisher table. And you could browse these tables as well and see if there is any data inside any of these tables. We don't have any data inside any of these tables yet. Now we're going to go ahead and create the publisher, book, and chapter classes in our application. So we're going to first go ahead and create the bookstore application. And create the book class first, and we're going to keep it inside a package called domain. And again, I'm going to use this cheat sheet and copy the book class from this cheat sheet and paste it. And the reason why we're getting these errors here, because we do not have the publisher class or the chapter class that this book table requires to compile. But we could go ahead and at least import the list here, and then we're going to go ahead and create the chapter class. So I'm going to copy the code for chapter class from here and then create it inside the same domain package, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste it here. And then we're going to go ahead and create the publisher class as well. And I'm going to keep it inside the same domain package. Now the publisher class here has the code and name data attributes, and it has the getter and setter methods for both the data attributes, and it also has a toString method for a meaningful output for any of its objects. And in the chapter class, we have title and chapter number data attributes and the getter and setter methods for them. And again, we have a toString method for a meaningful output of any of its objects. And in the book class, we have ISBN, name, publisher, and chapters data attributes. Again, the getter and setter methods, and again a toString method. Then we're going to go ahead and create the bookstore service class using JDBC to persist and retrieve the object graph of the book object from the bookstore database. And it's going to require the JDBC driver of MySQL for that. So there we have JDBC driver of MySQL. So we're going to copy it and we're going to create a folder. We're going to name it lib, and we're going to paste that driver into this folder. We're going to need this jar file in the build path of our bookstore application. Now we're going to go ahead and create the bookstore service class. Bookstore service, and we're going to keep it inside a package called service. And again, we're going to use the cheat sheet And I'm gonna copy all the code inside it and paste it here. Now we're getting too many errors here. And the reason why we are getting these errors is because it requires some imports. So let's go ahead and do that. The book class, the prepared statement interface, and the list interface. There we go. We do not have any errors here. And in this bookstore service class, we have the persist object graph method and the retrieve object graph method. And this object graph is of the book object that we're going to create in the bookstore client class. So let's go ahead and create the bookstore client class. I'm going to go ahead and create the bookstore client, and I'm going to keep it inside a client package. And again, I'm going to use my cheat sheet to create this client. I'm going to paste it here. And again, we are getting some errors here. So let's go ahead and import the classes this bookstore client needs. Now, first we are creating the object graph of the book object here, and then we're going to use the bookstore service object to persist the whole object graph of this book object into the bookstore database. So let's go ahead and run it. Oh, it's asking us to save all the classes, so go ahead. Now let's see if the data of the object graph of the book object is populated in these tables here. And yeah, we've got all the data of the object graph of the book object persisted into the tables inside this bookstore database. Now we're going to go ahead and retrieve the object graph of the book object. So we're going to comment it out here. And there we go. We're going to run it. Oh, it's asking us to save it. And there we go. We have the object graph of the book object printed here. Now, the problems we face when we are using JDBC directly to persist or retrieve Java objects from a relational database is because of the mismatch between the object model and the relational model. For example, here we are using a foreign key called book_ISBN to reference the book table from the chapter table, but there is nothing referencing the book class from the chapter class. In contrast, we have a one-to-many association with a book object having a list of chapter objects. And this is a case of object relational mismatch, which focuses on the association between two classes or tables in their corresponding model. And to handle the incompatibility of these models, we need to do some conversion or translation when we retrieve and persist our object model. And this is what is called object relational mapping.